All right, everybody, welcome to, I don't even know what episode it is at the moment. I've lost track of what number episode it is, but we're getting close to episode 100 of the Really Rickman Show. And I'm joined today by somebody who pretty much anybody who's anybody in their hairdressing world will know. And that is Sandy Chong. She is the current CEO of the Australian Hairdressing Council. And you are also, you have also been running a unbelievably successful salon for what, 20 years, 30 years? How long was it? I think 34 years. So credentials are extensive. Your connections in the industry are ludicrous, and pretty much the most well-connected person in the hair and beauty industry that I probably know. So welcome officially to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Hi, I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So I kind of vaguely introduced you then about what you do and where you've been and what your background is. But for people who are listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, I'm sure they want to know the details from the person herself. So tell us a little bit about your background and what you've done, what your experiences are, and what you're doing currently.
Well, I think what a lot of people wouldn't realise is that I am the CEO of the Australian Hairdressing Council, but I'm actually a hairdresser. And so therefore I get a really good understanding about what it's like to be in our industry. I've had my own salon for 34 years. I've had 2 salons and up to 45 staff. So my salon at the moment is in Newcastle, and it's about 50 yards from the beach, which is really beautiful. And across from me is an amazing park. My other salon was in Paddington in Oxford Street in Sydney. So I had that for about 8-9 years. I gave that up for a few reasons. One of them was payroll tax is something that I will always harp on about. Anyone who has got a number of staff will understand what I'm talking about. And right. The other reason was the work that I actually do for the industry. So yeah, I'm a hairdresser. I own a salon. My senior staff have all been with me over 10 years and up to 34 years. And I've trained a lot of apprentices over the years. My role with the CEO, as the CEO of the AHC, simply means I'm in the office, but my role and I guess my activities are very diverse. My career has covered pretty much everything that you can do. I've never really been an educator on stage for cutting hair or something like that, but pretty much everything else. So nationally and internationally, I've developed programs, workshops, seminars, presentations, whatever, mainly on the business side.
Awesome. Wow. I think I got anxiety at the moment where you said you had 45 staff. I was like, oh God.
I don't have that now, but that was the most I had at one time. And yeah, a lot of anxiety for sure.
Right. Yeah. So let's just go right back to the start then. How did you get into hairdressing? What made you want to be a hairdresser?
Okay, so interestingly, my parents went bankrupt when I was a baby. And right. So I grew up in a housing commission house. So, you know, my background is very humble, actually. And we were living with my nan, my Chinese nan. And I had a cousin called Denise Chong who worked for Di Lorenzo years ago, and also an aunt that worked there as well. And I thought they were the coolest chicks. Like, they just dressed really cool. They had the best styles, and they were having fun, and they were always smiling, and they were just having more fun than anybody else, to be, truthful. It's like, I want to be them. I want to have a life where there's fun and it's exciting and I'm laughing, and yeah, I just wanted to be them. So I started to work in salons when I was 14. And at one point I worked in 2 salons, Thursday night and Saturdays. I was the shampoo girl. And then I did my apprenticeship, and yeah, I started to manage salons really young, actually. Yeah.
And so you then obviously became quite successful as a hairdresser, and then decided to take the leap and open your own business. What was that like?
Yeah, I was fairly young when I opened up my own business, and look, it was really daunting. I started off with 3 staff, and within 9 months I had, I think, 13 staff. So I made a lot of mistakes, and over my career I have probably made more mistakes than anybody else in the industry. I'm sure I've made more mistakes than anyone. And whatever has happened to everybody has happened to me, and I guess I guess I'm resilient. I know I'm very resilient. I'm very stoic. I know I work really hard. And, you know, life is full of highs and lows, but for me, I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't want a vanilla life, let's say. And so, I've had some, situations that were devastating, and then I've had incredible highs as well. But I think more than anything, I have developed or gained an incredible community of friends and contacts in the industry and outside of the industry. And that's made my life pretty exciting and quite different, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. So nowadays, probably it was one of the other keynote speakers for SALONGROWTHCON, Caitlin Menzel. We'll get to SALONGROWTHCON in a second. Obviously, you're one of the speakers there as well. She actually connected us, and we had a phone call. And I remember I was sitting in a car park. I was actually waiting to get some beer. I think I said that to you maybe on the phone call. But we ended up just talking for, I think it was like an hour, and you were telling me all about the different things you do for the Australian Hairdressing Council. Hairdressing or Hair Council?
It's the Australian Hairdressing Council. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we started talking about all the different people you speak to and how you represent the industry from a legislative level as well, and making sure that it's regulated properly and all these different things. So whilst I am super interested in your background and your experience, I really feel like the most that people will get out of this conversation, having you on this show today, is to really ask you some hard-hitting questions about some of your connections and some of the things that you see and get exposure to that the common person just does not have any clue or any idea that's even going on in the background. Because I remember the conversation we had where you were talking about all these different things with tax and super and regulations and training and apprenticeships and things like that. I found it super interesting. So I want to ask you, what is the biggest, I guess, challenge that you see facing the industry at the moment?
I think one of the main challenges is the fact that hairdressing is not regulated, and the AHC is actually not a regulator. So in the perfect world, it would be great if there was more regulation, and no one likes regulation, but in New South Wales and South Australia, we're the only states that you actually need a qualification to do hair. And that in itself has led to our industry looking like it is today. And I could go over all the stats as to what's happening to our industry, and we could sit in, how terrible that is, or we could actually look at it as an opportunity to shift our thinking and actually understand that things are not going to change for the moment. So what is it that we can do better? And I think that now more than ever, you have to be really good at business. Now more than ever, you can't just go, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know, especially when it comes to the regulators, the real regulators, the Fair Work Ombudsman and the ATO. So, I spoke to someone last week, for instance, whose son is being paid $11 for a day. Now, wow. It's totally unacceptable. So these are things that that are really a challenge in our industry, that we do have rogue people out there who don't take care of staff and then can't understand why they can't keep them either. 2/3 of the industry is operating from home, and that's just how it is. Some of those businesses will be compliant, and we don't have a problem with them at all. We have a problem with the ones that are not compliant. And so to just throw one number out to the Treasury has what's called a Black Economy Task Force, and they feel that 58,500 ABNs in hair and beauty are considered high risk as contributing to the black economy, which really doesn't give us a great name. In fact, we're in the top 3 of complaints, the top 3 complaints with the Fair Work Ombudsman, and we're in the top 3 of high risk with the ATO. Cafes, restaurants, and construction being the other 2. But we're right up there, so that's a challenge.
I would have thought Telstra would be up there.
Well, I think
telecommunication.
I think their ombudsman would be pretty busy, actually.
Yeah.
Ombudsman, yeah.
I only just say that because we've been trying to get our NBN connected here for like 3 weeks. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah, go for it.
No, that's okay.
With the black market economy.
Yeah, so that's a challenge because it actually undermines our professionalism. When someone's operating from home on their lounge, doing eyelashes or cutting hair in the kitchen, and not only is it a work health and safety issue, consumers are not very educated in the fact that they're taking a risk with some things at home as well, especially if they're using chemicals. We actually developed HAIR, H-A-I-R. Took us a long time to come up with that name, by the way. It's the Hairdressing Australia Industry register. And we hope
Very
that,
clever.
I know it took a lot. Actually, David Manner from the Journal came up with it. We all sat there for ages going, what are we going to call this? But he came up with the name. And the whole idea is at some point we hope that, that hairdressers who have qualifications will actually register with us, so that eventually consumers will go, are you actually qualified? Because a lot aren't. I had a call last week from someone that said, hey, I've learned hairdressing off YouTube, and I think it's about time I got my qualification because I've been operating for years. So that's what our industry is actually up against, and that's why I guess I feel the opportunity is definitely there to do things well. And at the end of the day, you can't really beat someone who is qualified, experienced and skilled and really knows what they're doing and runs a really good business. So, and I guess the question nowadays is, what is a good business?
Yeah.
Because I guess I have my version of a good business and others would have theirs as well. But I think for me, relationships and looking after people is number one.
Okay, and I want to ask you about that in a second, but I want to touch on what you were just talking about a little bit, and something that I struggle with in terms of trying to find a definitive answer or articulate the answer or really maybe even come up with an answer at all, is the challenge about regulations and how business owners can pass on the cost of compliance to the customer. And I'll give you an example that's, I know you're starting to do a little bit of work with beauty now, but predominantly hair, but you do also work with beauty. And so, for example, if we impose these strict regulations on skin, for example, and it required everybody nationwide to have skin penetration licenses and all these different things and all these tight regulations about training and qualifications and experience and all these different things, then obviously that comes to a significant cost to the business owner. And so the treatments that you're currently selling for $80, and you're still making a little bit of profit out of that, and you can still manage your business, and sure, you're not making $1 million, but you can still make a living out of it and make a career out of your business. It's in place. Now you impose all these regulations, or you make things tighter and training becomes more stricter, then all of a sudden the cost to get somebody up to that point exponentially grows, and then that $80 treatment has to be passed on to the customer and then becomes a $150 treatment or a $140 treatment. But then you obviously have the challenge where the market dictates the price, and whether or not they go, yeah, that's fine, mate, your program or your service is $150, but I'm not willing to pay that. And so where does that line, or where is, and that's what I'm trying to get at. There's a battle in my mind about, yes, I want stricter regulations. Yes, I want better training imposed on the industry. And I think there absolutely should be, especially with beauty, with skin and things like that. And obviously the conversation we've had around color and whatnot in the hair industry. But how does that impact business owners? Because even if as a business owner, you turn around and go, well, yeah, my customers will pay because we've got the best training and best education. The reality is there's just not enough customers out there who go, I'm willing to pay double the market value because you've got better training. The reality is it just doesn't exist. So how is that managed from a salon owner, for a salon owner?
So I guess, I took a few things out of what you were just saying. So with the AHC, we're not a regulator, and I actually don't believe in strict regulation. And one of my other roles is working for the Council of Small Business Organisations of Australia. So it's called COSBOA, and they're an advocacy group and they lobby to government. And one of the things that we lobby about is actually removing what they call red tape. So removing all the compliance on business to fill in onerous paperwork, for instance, for compliance needs. And so we're not really into making things more regulated. I do believe, though, that with hairdressing and certainly with beauty, there should be something around qualifications. So at the moment, cosmetic tattooing and skin rejuvenation is, being consulted with to write a qualification around that, because at the moment there's no qualification. And I think
it's absurd that's not, you don't need a qualification for tattooing. It's absurd.
It is, and I do think that, there's a risk factor here, and the things that I think of, I guess, and with the AHC, I should clarify what we hope we represent is businesses in the country that have ethical business practices in place. And so, you know, with not having qualifications, there's a huge risk factor. And I think the most discerning clients will actually want to pay. I know I would want to pay more for someone that I know is experienced and skilled. And some of these services that have been done in beauty and hair are actually dangerous. It's as simple as that.
100%.
And, yeah, and, you know, I mean, some things aren't so dangerous, but you can burn. I've been burnt with waxing before. You don't want to know where, but anyway, I've been burnt. It's not pleasant. But, you know, I mean, everything that we do, there is a risk factor. And I think that we're our own worst enemy, because we cheapen our own profession, we cheapen our own industry by undercharging and not valuing what we do. Now, I was at a presentation on Sunday and someone asked a question. I think for the first time it actually got answered, and that is, why is it that hairdressing is not valued? And the thing is, hairdressing is part of the arts, and the arts are never valued. Not like other corporate businesses, we're always undervalued. But I think if we continue to not charge the right prices to our value and our training and our skills, and if we continue to not pay our staff correctly or take care of them, then we're our own worst enemy. You know, I can see why some staff do actually open at home or rent a chair or rent a booth for beauty. And if they're not being looked after by their salon, well, why would they stay? You know, it breaks my heart to know that someone was paid $11 for one day. I can't believe that someone would actually do that in business. They're obviously not our member, and that's not who we want. And that's the bit that needs cleaning up. So, I think for our clients, like, we've always been more expensive than anyone in our area. We have no walk by trade. There is a park across the road, and I apologise, they're actually mowing the lawn, which never happens. The ocean is just there. There are no shops near me at all, but we would still have one of the highest turnovers in the country, and definitely staff retention. And it's like, well, what is it that we do that's different? And there's not a lot that we do. We just make sure we take care of our staff, and we have very high attention to detail with our clients. And, you know, I think sometimes we complicate stuff. And
can I challenge you on that though?
Yeah, I love to be challenged.
Good. All right, I'm going to challenge you on it.
Yeah.
One of the things I used to early on when I was starting to run a business and had staff and things like that, one of the things I got told, I used to get frustrated at was like, you know, I'd be talking to my beauty therapist or talking to someone about the beauty therapist. I'd be like, why can't they just think about like that? Don't they understand that this is that? And things like that. And you get these frustrations. And someone turned around to me one day and goes, yeah, but Billy, there's a reason why you have decided to be the employer, run a business, have these ambitions and goals and drive and motivation to succeed in as a business and entrepreneurship. And there's a reason why they're a beauty therapist. And ultimately, you guys will take your own paths. Now, you have risen to the ranks of the CEO of the Australian Hair Council. You speak to all of these different people about some of the most important topics in the industry. You've ran a salon that had 45 people. And so I guess what I'm saying is you must have an enormous amount of talent that you can't, that we can't just say, yeah, but all I do is I have this amazing business, but all I do is just look after my clients. Because I would challenge you to say there is something special about Sandy Chong that 95% of people maybe don't have as an innate talent. And whether or not they would have the same ability to be able to build the business as you do, just if they start to look after their clients a little bit better. And I'm not saying that's not, I kind of want your opinion on it, because there must be something about you to get to where you are and the success you've achieved over 35 years in the industry. And I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs. I can see the difference between successful ones and people who struggle. And so what is, I guess, like, is it as simple as that? Is it as simple as not complicating things and just anybody can do it if they just look after their clients and make it simple? Is it as easy as that?
I think that, first of all, you have to do the right thing by everybody. And so I hear what you're saying, that some choose to be a business owner and others choose to be employees. But I've always believed with especially with our senior staff, with the apprentices, that we're obviously training them, but we train them to be successful. And I guess my idea of leadership or my idea of management is actually to make your staff more successful than you. Okay. Whereas so many businesses are so caught up on it's all about them, and it's, you know, unfortunately ego gets caught up in that. And I always wanted my staff to do more than me so that I could actually do other things that I want to do, which has allowed me to do all of the stuff that I've done in the industry because, you know, as I said, I've pretty much done everything that I want to do. But with my senior stylists, I do feel they earn good money. We have incredible incentives. We always have overseas trips in our incentives. You know, they can earn really well. I think the important thing is to find out what is it that drives them, why do they get out of bed in the morning, and then we try and deliver everything that drives them. So I do meet my senior staff twice a year. We do actually realign their goals. We find out what is it that they need, what do they want, and we actually try to make it happen. So, you know, I do think it does come down quite simply to looking after people is number one. You know, if your staff aren't there, you've got no clients because you've got no staff, I guess. And so I think I've always put a lot of importance on how we treat our staff, how we pay them, how honest we are. There's no cash in hand, there's nothing under the table, but we're very generous with our business. We could make a lot more money if we were not as generous with our staff. However, I do get people who challenge me on what we pay our staff and what we give them and how much that costs me. And they'll say things like, yeah, but how much profit did you make out of that incentive? And it's like, it's not about the incentive. We train our staff to be highly productive, and that's what incentive is for. An incentive isn't to make money, okay? We don't do incentives in our salon to make money. We do incentives to train our staff to be consistently productive and to show appreciation along the way. And that's why we do incentives. So I guess I just have a different way of thinking about a lot of things. And, you know, when I do present to businesses, I do get challenged on that. And it's like, yeah, but what's the profit in that? It's like, think big picture. I think too many think small picture. I am a big picture girl. I always am a year ahead of everybody else. And I guess if you should say what's different about me, that's definitely it. I already know what's going to happen in the next 12 months.
Is that, though, a character trait of Sandy? Is that a talent? Is that something that's just inbuilt that you're wired to think like that? And if so, is it transferable to other people if it's natural, if it's a natural ability? Like, you know, Gary Vee always talks about, if you're born 6'10" and you're really coordinated, then you've probably got a good shot at being in the NBA. But if you're 4'9" and you're really uncoordinated, then you're probably not going, no matter how many shots you do, you're probably not going to make it. And so I guess the question I'm asking is more along the lines of, is your own natural ability what part of the reason for your own success? And is that applicable to all the other salon owners? Is that trainable? Can you train someone to think like the way you think?
Well, first of all, just so you know, I'm totally uncoordinated. So I've never been able to do yoga, gym, or whatever. Like, when you're trying to throw something at me because I have no eyeball contact, does not work. And I can't wear white because I usually miss my mouth even when I eat. And I will feel it. So I'm so uncoordinated.
And if you're listening on the podcast right now, if you're not watching on YouTube, Sandy is dressed in black for that reason.
Hair Expo last year, you know, Pete from Expo Managers, I laughed so much because he had a two-story stand, and have I lost you? No, and I tripped off every step going down the stairs, like literally tripped. But the thing is, I always laugh at myself. So as I was tripping, I was so busy laughing, I tripped on the next step, the next step, the next step. And then I did like this massive face plant. And then what makes me laugh even more is the fact that everybody tries to pretend they didn't see it. So then I laugh more. But I am the most uncoordinated person that you would ever meet. So in answer to your question though, one of my things that I do, I'm an incredible delegator, and I do not do anything on my own. My husband's insanely supportive, and I've got someone on my desk who's been with me for 22 years, and most of my seniors have been with me over 20 years. I have a team around me with the AHC that I think with the AHC, the board of directors is very productive. I went to the ACCC and asked them how to set up a board, took myself off to the Institute of Company Directors as well. I've been to so many courses in the audience. I am a sponge to learn everything, and I take what I think I can use. And, you know, I guess I'm a problem solver too. I really hate it when someone vents to me and doesn't give me a solution, you know. So I always try and think of solutions, but I do have an army of people around me that do everything for me. And I guess have been with me that long that I don't have to worry about the salon and how it's running. The salon is just there, by the way. And it runs, it's so seamless in the day it runs. We do not have days that fall apart. We don't have days that, you know, that are manic. We're busy. We're booked out every day. But it just runs like clockwork. And I guess it's surrounding yourself with the right people. And I think that many of us have the wrong people around us, if that makes sense. Whether it's personally or professionally, I think 100%. Sometimes you have the wrong people around you and you've got to have the strength to sort them out.
Yeah. It is so important. Like, the circle of influence is massive. And I really feel like when you're in business for the first couple of years, it's a bit of a buzzword, like people will say it to you, but you don't actually really understand it until you do spread your wings and you start to grow and you establish yourself as a business owner. You really start to see the impact. I mean, the amount of, especially women, because I deal with a lot of women as salon owners, like the amount of women who are affected by the people in their personal life, whether it be family, husband, whoever, and tell them that they're not good enough, or they're just a salon owner, or it's just a hobby, really, isn't it? And you know, I say to them all the time, you have just got to get away from that, because if you started to instead replace those people with people who go, wow, what a successful entrepreneur you are. Wow, what a great idea you just had. Wow, you are really good at this sort of thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
Or you just start to shift and you just start to go in a different direction. Decision making is better. Your ideas actually come to life instead of like having these ideas just before you go to sleep, you know, like we always do, when your best ideas just as you're trying to fall asleep. And then the next day we don't action them because like, oh, James told me that I'm just a salon owner. I'm like, action them. Those are probably $1 million ideas you're having, and you're surrounded by the wrong people.
Yeah. And see, it's a real life skill to actually sit amongst the negativity of others and actually not get affected by them. And I know that, I guess my character, I've actually been told I'm dogmatic and that I'm like a dog with a bone. Yeah. And I used to be offended by that. I don't care. I'm actually not really easily offended. And I have my haters, heaps of them. I've even put in cameras because I've been threatened in working with the AX. It's ridiculous. But, you know, I get haters all the time and I get the odd email and odd message. And I guess I'm not actually really affected by people like that because you're not in my world. So,
yeah,
you know, piss off, I guess basically is what I think. I don't go there. Whereas a lot overthink those kind of people, and I'm just not like that, I guess. I guess I have a very strong character, personality. I don't know. I'm actually, when I'm not working, I just stay home though. I just like to stay home with my dog, my husband. I clean the house. That's me. That's my perfect day. Spending time at home, because we live at the ocean as well. So beautiful. My whole window is the ocean. My bedroom is the ocean. So when I'm not working, I stay home. But when I'm working, I like to be around the right people. And I remove myself from anyone who's not right for me. That's all.
Yeah. Critical. And so we've got to wrap this up in a second. But I just wanted to quickly finish on, you're joining me at SALONGROWTHCON this year.
I am. That's pretty exciting, hey?
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. You're on the Saturday, I think just after lunch, maybe on the Saturday, I think it is.
Am I?
Or maybe just before. Yep. And you're going to be talking about the hair and beauty industry and whether or not it's a part of the same, it's a part, or you're in it kind of together, right? And so what can people expect if they come to SALONGROWTHCON June 15, June 16 on the Gold Coast? If they come and see you speak, what are they going to expect from Sandy Chong?
I guess from my perspective, from the Australian Hairdressing Council perspective, it's important that everyone sort of gets a very clear picture of what's happening in the industry and what does that mean for you as a business owner right now. And so it's really a snapshot of the landscape, and I guess in my position, because I understand or I'm exposed to everything in the industry, regardless where you're from. And the Hair and Beauty Award is the same. So, you know, we cross over there, and in many other ways we do too. So I'll be there all weekend. If anyone wants to ask me questions about anything that they want, I'm more than happy more than happy to help. But yeah, I guess it'll be a snapshot, and what does the industry look like, and where do we go from here, and what opportunities are there? I guess that would be what I'm going to talk about.
Fantastic. I'm really excited to see you speak. I'm so glad that Caitlin introduced us a couple of weeks, maybe a couple months ago now. And so I'm really, really excited to hear you talk. I actually really like, you spoke before about haters and things like that. I'm sure you don't have that many, but I love the fact you're matter of fact. You can tell when you talk to you, you're just very straight down the line. It is what it is. I'm not going to overly sugarcoat it. And so I really like your delivery, and so I'm really looking forward to hearing you speak on the Saturday, June 15th.
Yeah,
awesome.
I want to too.
Awesome. And so if you want information on the Australian Hairdressing Council, where do they go?
Well, you can look up our website, which is the Australian Hairdressing Council. So pretty easy. Otherwise, it's www.bahc.org.au, because we're a not-for-profit association. So yeah.
Fantastic. Awesome. So exciting. I can't wait to see you there. And so that's the end of this show today. But if you are listening on the podcast, please make sure you take a screenshot right now on your phone. Look at your phone right now and take a screenshot. And what I want you to do is to share it and to tag Sandy or the AHC on Instagram or Facebook or wherever. And if you have any questions about the industry, about where it's headed, what it's been doing, any challenges, any upcoming changes or anything like that, make sure you hit it in the comments, and I'm sure Sandy will be more than happy to answer the question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. And if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you hit that notification bell, and make sure you subscribe to the channel, because then you'll see all these other pieces of content that's coming up, especially leading up to SALONGROWTHCON, which is going to be tons and tons and tons, and you won't miss out on a thing. So, of course, as always, appreciate all of you, and I look forward to speaking again tomorrow or sharing some more content with you again tomorrow. And thank you to Sandy for joining me on the episode of the Billy Rickman Show today.
Thanks for having me.
No problems at all. Catch you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, if you love this video, please make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. And also, if you have not yet got your tickets for SALONGROWTHCON 2019, make sure you do. Go to the link that's in the description below, because I do not want you to miss out on this amazing event.